Hello, you are listening to the All Girls School podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Barrett, a graduate from an all-women's college in Virginia. This podcast aims to highlight the diverse experiences and life journeys of graduates from all-women's colleges. Listeners can expect to hear candid conversations about a wide variety of topics. This podcast strives to be in an inclusive space, so some guests may identify themselves as non-binary or trans. I hope you're ready, because class is about to start. Hello, and welcome back to the All Girls School podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Barrett. I use she, her pronouns. And this week, I have Mariela Alas with me. Do you mind sharing your pronouns?
I also use she, her pronouns.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She graduated from Mary Baldwin and was also in the VWIL program. Do you mind kind of sharing what class you were in?
Sure. So as part of VWIL, I was in the null class of 2014, but I ended up graduating as part of the class of 2015. But I still consider myself 2014 because that's what I wore, bled, sat through, and did until that last semester in 2015.
Nice. All right. So kind of what I like to do is have my guests travel back in time a little bit in their mind and kind of tell us what were you like in high school and what were your goals? What were your interests?
Sure. Okay. But before we start, so I have questions for you.
Yes.
Before we get into it. Am I allowed to curse?
Yes.
Okay. How much?
As much as you want, because I can, here's the thing. Every time I upload a video, you have to say if it's clean or not clean. And I always choose not.
Dirty.
Yeah. I was like, this content is not made for kids.
Word. Okay. And are we allowed to talk about politics?
So I might not be able to say as much just because I'm still an officer.
Sure. Okay. Fair.
In the Army.
Yes.
So I cannot personally say a lot about politics.
Not trying to be inflammatory, but if something sneaks out, just letting you know. There's that. Okay. So you asked me about traveling back in time, being in high school. Mm-hmm. So to be completely honest with you, I try to bury all of that in my subconsciousness. So pulling that out, okay, it's fine. It wasn't that big of a deal. So I thought high school was really boring. I was bored all throughout high school. I was really nerdy. So I was kind of a band kid. I played instruments. I played the piano, and I was in J-ROTC. So if you can put all those things in your head, that's kind of the kid I was. I was really into J-ROTC. So I was one of those kids. Very interested in wearing uniforms and being involved in drilling ceremonies and stuff like that. And what I wanted to do, I think we were on the heels of 9/11 when I was going through high school. So we were super, super patriotic. So the only thing I wanted to do, I was you know what? I'm going to graduate and I'm going to serve in the military. That's what I wanted. But I wanted to be an officer, so I also wanted to go to school and study first. So I was you know what, I'm gonna go to school, I'm gonna study first, and then I'm gonna serve my country. That's what I really wanted to do as a kid. So if you put all of those things together into a 5'2" package, that was me. And that's kind of how I ended up at Mary Baldwin. I can't pinpoint exactly when or where, but I know I was introduced to VWIL because of ROTC, and I knew that was kind of the path that I wanted to follow. And I was all women, Cadet Corps, VMI, yeah, sign me up. And it was a little baby school in Shenandoah. That's just kind of how I ended up there, just based from what I was doing in high school.
Did you ever visit
Mary Baldwin?
Yeah, or did you just show up?
No, I did visit. So that's the thing. I did visit, and I was there are a lot of hills in this place. It's a hilly area. But I had 2 visits, actually, I remember, because one was my first visit, and I was kind of certain. I was pretty sure I wanted to go there. Mm-hmm. And then my parents were are you sure? Have you looked at tuition? What does everything cost? And I was no. And they were go again. And so I went again. And this time I went through VWIL. It was a VWIL specific.
Oh.
Did you tour?
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, did you do the overnight?
Yeah. Wow, you just pulled out like a memory that was like so fresh.
Because I was gonna say, I mean, it might have been with our class.
It was.
Yeah, I was like, we probably hosted it.
Oh, yeah, I think I sat with Harrison and somebody, maybe Goodrich. Maybe she doesn't remember, but
seems like
this is like coming out.
That adds up. It adds up.
Yeah.
No wonder you chose to join.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because Harrison was a saint. So, and your whole class was super saints your null year. So yeah, that makes sense. That came out of like, whoo, you pulled that out of I don't know where that was hiding. Yeah,
yeah, helped you regain all those repressed memories.
For real.
Cool. Once you're there, what was your experience like? Did anything in particular kind of like stand out to you?
So you just had my sister Noel on. So Alessandra Gonzalez Rivera, she was also like my long-term roommate. So we roomed together from the end of our null year. So like the second half of null year till graduation, till she graduated. Yeah. So we roomed all the way through. I'm sure she had plenty of stories for you. So yeah, similar experience in that vein. The sister null class, right? Just being part of VWIL, that was super unique, and that obviously stood out, and that made the whole college experience a little bit more unique than I guess other people get to have. I think what I haven't heard talked about on the podcast as much is just the experience of being on an all-girls school, like your podcast. And in my opinion, those spaces are super important, especially for people who, I want to say, women who generally feel excluded in spaces. They tend to thrive in like women-only spaces. So there's a difference between being like allowed to do something and then being welcomed and included into doing something. And I think that's what like women-only spaces allow you to do. And that's what I felt a lot when I was going through school. I definitely had a lot of imposter syndrome going into school, just like making it through school, getting into a cadet corps, doing stuff with a cadet corps. So doing things like, my major was in chemistry. I had a hard time because one of them was just, again, imposter syndrome. I was like, I am not meant to, like, who the heck am I? Like, what am I doing here? And there was a lot of like, 13 and 14-year-old, what was that program called? The PEGs.
Yeah. Program. Now that you mention it, I'm like, okay, that acronym stands for Program of the Exceptionally Gifted. So that's what it stands for.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
So yeah, we had the PEGs and they're sitting with you, right? And they're like infinitely smarter than you. You're struggling, you're holding on. But at the very least you feel like, all right, well, at least the space was created for you and it's meant for you and you're okay like being here. Like you'll be fine. So that really stood out to me. But besides that, just like the uniqueness of being part of like my sister-in-law class specifically, was a big deal. Like it's still a big part of my life. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. I feel like I would have been probably a completely different person. I don't know if I would have like grown into who I am if I had gone to like a different school that was co-ed. You know? Yeah,
that's a good point that you make. I'm unsure. Like I'm just gonna share this. I was a shitty student, and part of that was because I like never understood how to do things, right? Like I think people were taught how to study and people were taught how to like manage things that like overwhelmed them. And I just really didn't. I kind of just like shut down a lot of the time and just let things happen to me. So that was part of it, right? I never really grew into like a confident person while I was in college. So I think being at a smaller school, being at an all-girls school kind of helped pull me out of that hole that ended up like with me crossing that finish line, right? The graduation line at the end, because that's what we were there to do in the first place. So I had people like General Jurek, and I remember Colonel Patrick. They had like come to Jesus talks with me like several times. And that's something that I think you can only get from a program like this, right? Someone that's kind of like looking out for you and like they see you all the
Mm-hmm.
time, and they see like what your struggles are because they have all the data.
Yeah.
And in either a co-ed school or a big school, I think immediately I would have just gotten lost in the pond and just, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I go to George Mason for grad school, and I can't imagine going to like they have like over 40,000 students.
Yeah, that's insane to me. I definitely think, I mean, now it's different, right? Like now you're grown up, you've grown into your own stuff, like your head is different, your frontal lobe is developed. So like, you know, you're a little bit more steady on your feet. Your identity is kind of molded, right? So you're not really struggling with all these stupid, dumb 19, 20-year-old thoughts that you have when you're an undergrad. But I definitely, it's very impressive to me that kids like get through something like that. Yeah.
No, I do, because I'm in a higher education program. Like a lot of things we focus on are like access, retention, things like that. And you know, we like going to a small school like Mary Baldwin, and then like even the niche of like VWIL, and just like the one-on-one attention you get so much attention from like a peer advisor, and just like the mentors within the core and like that relationship building to really like motivate you and help you get through is not things that you will have access to at like bigger schools in like as much access.
Right.
You have to kind of seek it out.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I was going to say sometimes you don't even know what to ask for.
Yeah.
You just don't know. You're just kind of like stuck. And for someone else to come in and tell you, hey, I think you need to be doing X, Y, and Z. And I think that'll help you here. And even if it doesn't, like at least you're moving in a direction, is super helpful and super formative. And it just like, you need that when you're developing, right, in your younger years. Yeah.
So I know you said like you were focused on commissioning. How did that like kind of change or evolve like throughout your time?
Good question.
College?
So I did just say that I was a shitty student. And I know, so you're familiar with this. Just recruitment in any of the branches, it just goes in waves, right?
Yeah.
So when I was being recruited out of high school, because I was being recruited out of high school, like the ROTC came and they were like, come and join us and do this stuff. They had this phrase 2.0 and go. I'm sure you're familiar. So you would go to like all the field trainings and all that stuff if you had a 2.0 GPA. By the time that I made it to Baldwin, it was a lot more competitive. So I think the years that you graduated and the years that my sister-in-laws graduated, it was like you had to have like as close to a 4.0 as you can get, as close to perfect PT scores as you could get. You had to do well in your field trainings and stuff to get a commission and get those slots. And plus you were competing with all the VMI guys. So all that being said, I was just struggling to graduate. So they were not gonna look for someone who is like barely making it to the finish line to get a commission first. And then second of all, I was completely out of shape anyway. I was like not gonna meet any high weight standards. I was not gonna pass any PFT. I think my best mile and a half with the core was like 18 minutes. So, you know, it's what is the minimum? Like 15?
Well,
14?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Because it was, for the mile and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not that. It was not 18. I will tell you that. So that just kind of gives you into insight as to like what my cadetship was like, right? It was very much a like world of, I was like trying to just make it out on the other side. And I feel like a lot of other people came in and they were just like hit the ground running and made it through, just superstars. But, you know, we all have our own experience.
Yeah. Well, and I think the economy is what really changed things to make it so competitive, because there was a downturn. So all the funding, like it was
true. The slots were less.
So like I remember my freshman year, like it was just like the water turned off, like and all the funding just went away. It was insane.
It was and I think they're back to this again. Like I know the branches there hurting for recruitment.
Yeah. If anything, now is like it's hard to get people who are interested.
Yeah.
And that's just like that's DoD wide, like not just officers, like
everybody
enlisted. Yeah. And I mean it's hard, and especially like I've taught like some students, like some Gen Z students, like the military, is not super flexible. And I think, leadership really has to figure out how they can make some changes to where people are interested, because like just the old ways of recruiting like aren't enough. There's gonna have to be like a huge change in like culture, work-life balance, but you can only do that to a certain extent in the military. To a certain
extent, right? And I will say this, right? Like I have a lot of sister-in-laws who are obviously in uniform. Mm-hmm. My brother, he's in uniform also. He serves in the Space Force now. But a lot of the biggest detriment there is just how unyielding or how unwilling to bend sometimes it is, and how difficult it is to just exist as like, if you want to have a family, or if you want to have stay rooted or plant roots somewhere, or just feel like you have a home somewhere without being like jostled around all the time. It's tough, but this is why I say it is like definitely an act of service. So I do really appreciate the people who do put on uniforms and who did end up going those career paths, because it is a tough gig. Yeah, you get like opportunities for it, but it is definitely a tough gig. Yeah, not for everyone.
So once you like learned that you weren't going the commissioning route, kind of how did your game plan change, like for graduation, finding like a career? Do you feel like, and I've had this conversation with a couple of people who didn't commission, do you feel like Mary Baldwin had any good resources for like helping you try to find a career, or like internships or resume building, like anything like that?
So I don't want to put Baldwin on the spot, because I feel like part of it was me, right? I didn't like go and look for stuff from them. But I don't think they had any that I can recall. Like, I think they had like a couple of like, I'm trying to think. Maybe during like May term, they had a couple of things like resume building, skill building, trying to figure out how to interview, like sort of like seminar situations. Mostly my chemistry professors were the ones that helped me out. So after I graduated, I went back and I like pinged a couple of them. Pinged Dr. Ruizhaz, who was yeah.
Nice.
You remember Dr. Ruizhaz?
I took chemistry freshman year.
He's great. Yeah. Oh, freshman year.
Yeah.
That's a hard science to take. Like if you were going to take a science for your elective, right? Like you had to take a science.
Well, I started out with the mindset that I was gonna be like pre-med and do an educational delay and like go to medical school and like be a doctor in the Army. And chemistry was one of the things that taught me maybe not. I had to, if it wasn't for the TA, I got tutored by the TA, and the TA also like graded the lab, so it was very nice to like know like what I needed to work on. Yeah, and if it wasn't, that's why I'm like thankful for like the small classes and that, or else that would have, I wouldn't have been good.
That was me in like math. That's what I had to end up doing, like just to make it through the math classes. Yeah. But I people who were like freshman year, and those classes were big, like the Chem 101 classes were big, and I'm like, why, dude? Like biology is ranked.
I know. I took biology the same semester, and I was like, bio's not bad, but chemistry is killing me.
Chemistry is hard, especially like the first year of chemistry. It's just like a lot of information. It's difficult to wrap your head around like just that much information. Yeah. But so for you, I get it. It's crazy to me because it only gets worse, right? And my worst grades were like my freshman and sophomore year, and then by the end, I was like, so by the time I took like physical chemistry, which is like physics and like chemistry. So if you take all the content of physics and just like it's all analytical, right? It's like math and then like chemistry. Like the electrons and all that stuff to it.
Oh man.
I managed to get through that. So it's not hopeless. I promise you. I managed to get through that. Environmental chemistry, analytical chemistry. And then I got through my senior thesis and I got A's through all of that. So Right. So it was, yeah. I wish I'd go back and like found my freshman year and be like, sit in class. Just go to class. Yeah, I know.
It's okay.
I know. Yeah. This is also why I can't have kids, because this is the reaction I would have. Like, come back with that report card. I'm just like, don't put that on yet. I'm no kidding. Do whatever you want. Not advocating for violence or D's.
Oh, man. So, how did you kind of get to where you are career-wise? Now, I'd like it. Whoa, you're good.
Yeah.
I creeped. Well, I do creep. And so I've noticed that you've been to Norway a couple times. And I'm like, is that for work?
It is.
Like, what do you do?
So what do I do? Good question. So I ended up, so chemistry background, right? I ended up just after graduation, just kind of getting anybody who could hire me, right? Like the loans were coming up. I didn't feel like living with my mom that long. So I was just like, all right, whatever you got. So I got hired by a logistics/freight forwarding company. And I was just doing like paperwork, admin stuff. And then they had a client that they were shipping radioactive material for. And like literally they would always get these papers and like, I know what this means. I don't know what this means. I was like, dude, it's just like X, Y, and Z, right? I'm like, stop. Like Google exists. But like it basically was just like a lot chemicals that to people it sounded scary. But I'm just like, listen, it's not that big of a deal. This is just how they name things, right? Because this is the way that things are done. So then I started working for them, that section. And so that was like a jump. That's like going from like, I don't know, like a intern assistant to like working on like the top account of the company. So it was a big jump almost like within the same year. So I learned dangerous goods is what I ended up kind of like niching into. So what that is that U.S. Department of Transportation, don't fall asleep. U.S. Department of Transportation has all these regulations, right? So if you're going to ship shit like from point A to point B, you have to follow the rules. Like these are federal laws. Yeah.
I'm a logistician in the Army, so I get it. Like this makes sense. Yeah. Hazardous materials.
Hazardous materials. Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I do. So I got really good at like the rules. I'm like I don't want to say a lawyer, but like for that particular thing, I'm very good. Like someone would come to me like, can I do this? I'd be like, yes or no, or like, maybe. So that's what I get paid to do now, right? Like just consult over that. Or sometimes I get like to baby the cargo because I work for a government contractor and the contracts are for oceanography contracts, right? So the Office of Naval Research, they send out all these contracts and my company works for them to take the engineer stuff from one point to the other point. So we do all the logistics for that basically. So if it's government owned, we do all the DD 1149 stuff that goes with that. And then we have to like baby it, right? Like, cause it's one of a kind. You can't like recreate it anywhere else. So we go with the cargo, and then sometimes it gets stuck in customs, and you're like sitting there, and they're like, "We don't know where stuff is," and I'm like, looking the Greek dude, or like if we're in Greece or whatever, I'm like, "Look," I was like, "It's right there." So that's sometimes what you have to do. And yeah, I've gone to Norway for that. We just take it, and it makes it onto like the research vessel. We make sure it gets there, and when it gets back off, that everything is like sealed and nice and sweet, and that nobody's gonna get charged for like trying to transport munitions into the U.S. from Norway or something like that. So it's been a good opportunity to just like travel, right? It's given me the opportunity to travel. I've been to a lot of places, mostly in the Scandinavian countries, so Norway. I've been to Iceland a couple times. I went to Sri Lanka once, never doing that again. Yeah, pretty bad. You need to have a local with you for that. All over domestically, like Florida. Just recently came back from Hawaii. That was a great trip. Yeah, I can't be mad at Hawaii. And I think that's like the big ones. Yeah.
That makes sense because you're supporting like their Navy contracts. So I'm like, oh, those all make sense. Yeah. And when you first said dangerous goods, I was like, you should get a shirt that's dangerous goods on it. I don't know why. As soon as you said that, I was like, that'd be a great shirt.
I am a dangerous good.
Dangerous good.
Yeah, I say dangerous good because I'm like, that's what everyone, I say hazmat and people think like hazmat suit or like something's radioactive. And I'm like, dude, it's just fucking a package. Like it's a lithium battery, right? You know that fucking
those
Apple
little symbols on the side of your package.
Yeah, they look like this. I don't know. Your battery that gets shipped to you from Amazon.
Yeah.
Has to have that.
Yeah, we have certain rules for like when we like our trucks transport like fuel and ammo, like certain placards. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I get what you're saying. Yeah, like I understand. I speak the same language.
The world needs logistics. That shit's not going anywhere. Yeah, except maybe my job. I'm kind of afraid that AI is going to take that. To be honest with you, like I saw a software recently. That it like has all the regulations in it, and then you just ask what this like. All you have to know is kind of like know the language of DG a little bit. You're like, what's the United Nations number and what's the proper shipping name for this, and it'll like give you everything that it needs and what you need to put on it and how it can go and what mode. And I was like, delete that email. Get
this out of here.
Yeah. So yeah, man, AI, they'll do it.
Yeah, scary.
Yeah.
Scary to think about sometimes.
Seriously.
So I just don't. I just use it when it's convenient for me and then like pretend it doesn't exist when I think about what it could potentially do later.
Right.
Yeah. Because I mean, higher ed, like there's already been talks of like, like there's certain ways you could use AI to replace certain like student services and things like that, as opposed to like having like humans do certain things, like having like if schools want to cut costs, right?
Yeah. Then, which is always what it's about.
Yeah, which is why it's scary, because it's like, well, our budget, isn't as high this time. Like we have to find like ways to cut budget, and the easiest way is to cut people. So
yes, labor is always the biggest piece of overhead.
Yeah,
sadly.
Yeah, but. So it's back to like me creeping on you. You've gotten into CrossFit and you're a coach. How did that kind of come
That's
about?
Funny. Let's go back to 2015. No kidding. So back to that previous conversation that we had about like I wanted a commission and I want to do that stuff. So I think part of my biggest gripe when I was in the cadet corps was the PT.
Yeah.
So, which is weird because I wanted to. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's fair. Like, I think it's a fair gripe. It's a fair critique to have. So.
Yeah, I went. Well, it's been said. So I've been back since then, and I've like expressed this gripe, and I've also spent some time with the cadets there. Just as an aside, but the part of the reason that I joined with the Corps was because I wanted to get fitter. So I was like, oh, they go out and they PT and they do this stuff. Like, I want to do that. Like, no one's ever taught me how to do that, so I wanted to be part of that. But throughout my time there, it was just like a headache. PT was such a headache. And mostly just in hindsight, from what I know now, it just comes from a lack of like knowledge. So there are people who are fit, right, in the cadet corps. They already know what they came here to do, right? They came, they're like, we're in commission. I came from JROTC, or I was a previous student athlete. I do athletics now, right? None of this is new to me. I played sports in high school, right? I've never ran in my life, probably, except for whatever mile run that they make you do. I literally have never moved in my life.
Presidential fitness.
Never. I didn't play sports. Like, my brother got to wrestle. I got to play the piano. So, like, it is what it is, right? And so I show up and I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to like do things, except they just kind of like toss you into it. And that was my gripe. Like, that was my gripe after I graduated. I didn't know that was my gripe during, but like after I graduated, I was like, in hindsight, why did that not work? And it's just because of a lack of knowledge, right? Like, the cadre is trying to, they have a objective in mind, right? And then the Corps has an objective in mind, but it's like, how do you take those steps? And then also the ROTCs, they have an objective in mind. But it was like an all or nothing situation, right? So you either did it or you didn't. And if you couldn't do it, you just either like sat out, or you were like, there was no real option to get you to go from like where you were to where they needed you to be. It was just a lot of like, well, we're going to like, I don't want to use the word bully. I feel like that's not the correct word, but, like pressure you a little bit until you are getting there. But I'm like, that's still not a way to get you there. Right?
There is no like real coaching of like, these are the steps that you take to get there. And like even PT cadre for VWIL, it was really, anyone who was PT cadre, they weren't necessarily like trained on how to.
They were good at PT.
Yeah, they were just good. They were just literally, your qualification was like, are you good at PT? Okay, cool.
Cadre.
Like, you're cadre. So yeah, it's not even like there was any science behind it. It was just like, if you're good at it, cool, be cadre.
Yeah.
You know?
There was, I will say it did get a little better when General Jurek came in, because at least, well, she took the time to be with us.
Mm-hmm.
There was like a group of us that like, and I remember expressing to her, I was like, listen, I really want to do this. I just don't know how. Like, I've thrown my face at this wall for 4 years now. And this was my senior year that she was coming in. And she was like, all right, well, let's go and I'll run with you in the mornings. And we started there. And I think that was the year that I made my best mile and a half, right? Like the 18-minute mile, because I was just going out and running more. But even then, that's not like, it's not enough. Like, it wasn't enough. Like, I never got any of the bodyweight movements. Like, I never got push-ups. I never got, and like, just thinking about it now, I'm like, it would have been so easy to just like take a group of people and just like scale back what everybody else was doing. Just have them do it at like a reduced range of motion, have it do a reduced like amounts, like give them more time to recover. Like, they cannot physically, like, I could not physically run a lap without stopping. I couldn't do it, like a 400-meter lap. Yeah. Couldn't do it. So like, it didn't matter how much you yelled at me, or it didn't matter how much like motivation people were giving me, like, like I like simply my body. So, that was like probably my biggest gripe. So when I got out of school, during summer break, I was kind of going to this warehouse gym in Arlington, and it was a CrossFit gym. But they let me work out with them a couple times, and they were like super easy to work with, right? Like, I came in and I was like, listen, I don't know how to do anything. And they were like, that's fine. Yeah. We'll figure it out. And so they were really good about figuring it out, right? And so every time that I did something with them, I walked away like feeling accomplished, right? I did something towards something else. Like, there's a step in the right direction. So, but I didn't have any money, right? I'm a college student. Yeah. So I go after I graduate and I got my job. So I graduated in what do we got? July, August, May. Not anything anymore. May. It took me 3 months to find a job. May, June, July, August, I was in the gym, and it was literally my first paycheck. I was like, here's my first paycheck. What does this gym cost? And they were like, I think in that time it was like $180 a month or something. And I was like, word, let's do it. And there was like people doing crazy shit, like people going upside down and handstand push-ups and people like swinging on rings and doing muscle ups. And I was like, I'm gonna do all that shit. And they were like, yeah, fair, let's go. So mind you, I was like really overweight. So I'm 5'2". I think my biggest weight was like 240. That's for 5'2". It's like imagine a grape, like with like arms and legs. You know? Yeah. So that's like what it started as. Plus someone who had never, like, my only real other thing was like the stuff I did in ROTC, right? Like running and stuff like that. And I just hung out. I like hardcore, like that was my hobby. Like that's where I would socialize, and that's where I would meet people, and that's where I met friends, and that's what I would do after work. So I did that for like 3 years. And I got real nerdy about it, right? Because I didn't like people telling me to do things if I didn't know why, right? I had just come back from that shit. They were like, do it this way, do it that way. And I would like ask all the questions, and I would go and read about it, and I would listen to podcasts and take this stuff, and I would go to seminars, and I amassed knowledge just to do it, right? Just because like I didn't want anyone telling me about myself without like some reason, right? I was like, you gotta tell me why. I'm no longer taking anybody's word for anything. So I had all this knowledge, and I like at some point, and also I was like I don't want to say a big deal, but like I was like everybody knew me at the gym because I spent so much fucking time there. So the owner and his wife, they were like, we want you to be a coach because like we always are looking to develop coaches, right? Like not everybody stays here forever, and they all go, and we just need to have a roster of coaches on hand. And I was like, dope, why not? And I did, and I really enjoyed it. I like freaking loved it. So it was better than working out. Like it was better than doing fitness on myself, right? So the first time I could tell somebody else, like, it's going to be fine. You can get to whatever thing that you want to do. We just got to take steps A, B, and C to do it. Like that was like almost like mind altering. Like my brain chemistry changed. Almost like it was like a big deal for me. I was like, wow, I can just like tell people that they're gonna be fine and they can do whatever else they want. So that's what I did, and I specialized really in two things. So I have like two kinds of people that I see. I see like the newbies, like I mean like zero body awareness. No, there are like people who don't go to the gym, and there are people who are not able to move. Like they don't even know where their 2 feet are. I love those people, but as long as they're willing, as long as they're willing to like work, right? I love it. So I specialize in like brand new people who think that they're like unathletic or whatever. As long as they're willing to work, we go. I'm not in the business of motivating anybody. I'm not like, you should work. I don't give a fuck. Like, work if you want to. Like, that's whatever your priorities are, do them. And if you want to learn how to do a certain movement, then I'm here for you. This is my personal philosophy. So yeah, I'm never going to like convince someone to go to the gym or to go and be fit. Cause to me, it's not really about health. Like that sounds wrong, but it's not about, I didn't do things to be healthy. I did things because I wanted to do cool shit. And so if you want to do cool shit, I'll teach you to do cool shit. That's about it. Yeah. So that's one profile that I teach. And then the other one is like the ex-athlete, or I want to say like someone who's been in the gym for a really long time, and they want like more specific guidance than like whatever they're getting. Like they want to like niche down, or they want to learn like a more advanced skill. So both of those extremes I like. And then obviously I've worked with everyone in the middle, but those are like my two like niches that I fall into. And I don't teach everything, right? I only teach like what the standard CrossFit stuff. So if you guys don't know what that is, that's just it's a strength and conditioning program. The marketing, right? They don't do anything new, right? It's not anything special. It's just the fucking marketing that they do that's like CrossFit, right? So it's sorry. So they'll lift weights, right? The conventional the deadlift, presses, all sorts of presses, squats. And then the conditioning part is that they do things like cleans and snatches and jerks and a lot of other stuff that you usually only see by themselves. They put all that shit together and then they do it really fast and they throw like rowing, running and stuff into it. And that's what makes it like conditioning, right? So I've do I recommend CrossFit? I don't know if you even asked me. I don't care.
Do I recommend Sure. Do you recommend CrossFit?
Sure. All right. Sure. If you're willing, I think it's a good medium. I will say they've been really good about like this. I say this a lot, like this trio of like methodology, which is just like training, just going to the gym, and then education. So they're like the only other person I know the only other institution I know that has like coaches, right? Like there's a like a methodology, and there's like a place you have to go to get certified for them. And people give me a lot of flack about like the weekend seminar, and I'm like, how many weekend seminars do you have? Anyway, so the education part, the developmental part, right? And then the sport part, which is probably the shit that you see on Instagram, right? All the crazy people like flying around and stuff. So that's not really like I don't fucking do that shit.
Yeah.
I don't even, to be honest with you, I don't even train CrossFit very much. I teach it, right? I do the classes and stuff, but like I said, it's not the only thing. I think it's a very great entryway into just like exploring fitness, right? Especially if you want to like make friends and be social and do stuff like that. It's a great entryway to that, and also to learn movements. I don't know another place that will teach you how to do things correctly. If you go to like any of the gyms inside of we call them Globo gyms, but like, you know, your Gold's gyms and your One Lifes and stuff like that, you see a lot of crazy shit going on. So, you know, it's good for just learning to do things. So I appreciate it for that. It is not the end all be all, right? If you don't want to do that, that's fine. There's like plenty of other avenues for that. I think all movement is good movement. I personally am a big proponent of just movement, right? Like movement that challenges you, movement that makes you feel, I don't know what the word is here, almost empowered, right? Like shit that like, I'm like, yeah, you can't do that shit. Like, no, that's in training, right? Like nobody can wake up and do like a 400-pound deadlift. Like that's something that you have to like train to do too, or like a snatch. Snatches are cool. Things like that. So yeah, that's my spiel on that. So the reason how long I've been coaching since like 2019. My values have changed a lot since 2019, since when I started. But I've messed a lot of people up. I don't want to say it like that way, but I've had like, part of learning how to coach is like learning to be a human being, just kind of connecting with someone else. Yeah. Like understanding, not just like empathizing, but like really understanding where they're trying to go and figuring out where their priorities are. It's never about you. That's like a hard lesson to learn, right? When you're coaching, like it really is not about you. It's like, what does your athlete want, and how are you going to advocate for those goals as the coach? So all those hard lessons to learn, really great lessons to learn for life. I think I've learned a lot from just being with people and seeing them struggle and like seeing them also click and get things that they never thought they would get. I had a lady once, she really wanted to learn how to jump on a box, like a 20-inch box. And it took us like 6 months to get there. And then when she finally did it, we both cried. Aww. We were just and it's like things like that, right? It's like you were working so hard to get something, but you made it, right? Like you showed up and you put in the work and then you made it. Like, and now you can do this cool thing. And she's 6'4", I think. So like, right, jumping on a 20-inch box, like a big deal. I could jump on a 20-inch box when I started. That's awesome. So, there's that. Yeah. That's my spiel on that.
Yeah, I think when people think of CrossFit, the marketing for it kind of makes it seem like this overwhelming, intimidating thing. But like you said, like last winter when I was still in Colorado, I started going to a CrossFit gym close to where I lived. And like they made me do like 3 one-on-one classes to learn like the basics and the foundations before even getting thrown into like a WOD, because they wanted to make sure that I felt comfortable and I knew what I was doing. And it is sometimes about like those small little victories, because my squat depth was like non-existent. I had like no
range. Your ankles, they don't bend.
Like, it's just
your hippies.
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, I have like my muscles in general are just tight, so it takes me. Yeah.
You're trying to diagnose Barrett.
I'm like, so it. If you would have asked like the owner, who was like my coach for the first like session, versus like where I ended up like later, it's like night and day. And it was just like the small victories of like I couldn't even touch like the little ball like when I squatted, and then eventually like I could, like, so those small victories. Is my squat depth like perfect? No, but I made those improvements, and so that in itself was like rewarding. Am I throwing up a bunch of weight like the marketing and stuff like competitors? No, but like I was moving, I was learning things. And even certain lifts that aren't my favorite, like I never left a WOD without like feeling accomplished,
It's a big deal. Yeah. I think it bleeds into your life. Like if you do one thing right for the day, like it's a big deal. Yeah. Like sometimes we don't get that. Like there are days I go through and I'm like, what did you correct me today? I went to the gym. I had fun. Yeah. Like, so like it's become part of like, this is why I say it's less about health. And I'm sure people that I work for would be like, don't say it. But it's not. And when I mean health, I really do mean like health. Like I'm not going there because I'm like, I need to be healthy and I need to work out because it's good for me. It's just become a habit and a way, I don't want to say a way to cope, but like kind of just to feel good about yourself. Yeah. Right. It's just and like I say, movement is very healing as far as like, I mean, like if you need therapy, you should go to therapy. But as far as like therapeutic, it can be. And like, learning new skills, like getting a muscle up or getting a snatch or getting under a bar, stuff like none of that is easy. And like once you like learn how to do hard things in one part of your life, you can carry that over to other parts of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, like you said about like the core too, I think there, for a lot of people, like when they think of like working out, like cardio is always like the go-to, like running and running fast. And it's like, not, when I was younger, like when I first commissioned, I was like, yes, I got to run like super fast and I got to like beat everyone. And now I'm just like, I like a good walk, I like the stair climber,
too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do still run, obviously, because I have to, but my relationship with, like, cardio and running has changed a lot.
This is funny that you say that. So the first, like, year maybe that I, like, left the core, like, running was, like, a big self-esteem thing. Like, I would not run in front of other people until I went to the gym, and I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to run in front of these people. And it was bad, right? Like my 400 meters were like 3.5 minutes, right? They're not good splits. But eventually you just stop caring, right? And I think that's the best part. You're just like, fuck it, I'm here for me. Like and then I started running on purpose. Now, and I'm kind of like which is so weird. I would have never like thought that the cardio. So like now I do more of that kind of stuff than like lifting weights. Like people know me for the lifting weights, like the snatch, the clean, and the jerk, because that's just what I post. Because I can't post like me sitting on a rower for like 15 minutes. Really, that's not cute. That's not exciting. But yeah, like that's what I do. Like 4 out of like 6 workouts that I do are gonna be like rowing, running, or biking, and the other 2 are like the shit that I post on Instagram for like clout.
Yeah, just like going in on everyone's form.
Those are my friends. They game me for me.
Yeah. So yeah, I think kind of what you're saying, it builds community. Like it's good, like movement in general. Like you obviously, if you need therapy, you need therapy. But like in addition to therapy as well, like in general, movement like is good for the mind. It's good for the body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree 100%. Like all movement, I'm a fan of all of them. Like someone will tell me something. I don't know. Like if you had asked me this maybe like 5 years ago, like I said when I started, I would have been like bodybuilding or like running. No, you need to come in here and you need to do a WOD. But like, yeah, like my mindset has shifted so much, especially just from like putting my body through all these sorts of things. Right, at a certain point, you're just like, I've seen it a lot. I've seen it all. Like I've done a lot of different things. Like it all feels good. It's all fine. It's all good, right? Like you're still moving. So yeah, all of it is good.
Speaking of moving,
what a great segue.
You also have gotten into some dance.
I was like, you're gonna talk about anything. Yes. Yeah.
I was so excited for that segue.
So, okay, let me say just this. If you have trouble meeting friends or just getting new friends, the only thing I can say is like do a hobby. Do all the hobbies. You're going to meet so many people and you're going to like love a lot of them and then you're going to hate a lot of them too, but you're going to like at least find like a group of people that you're like mesh with. So so what Bear's talking about is I'm part of a dance company. This is the plug for Ferocity Dance Company in Falls Church, Virginia. If you're in the DMV and want bachata social, bachata performance, Ferocity Dance Company. Director Kat Arias. Anyway, she's talking about this. So I joined this dance company, which is funny because it's related to the it's come back to the gym. So I was learning. Well, I was in the process of weightlifting. I wanted to compete. So if you guys know what I'm talking about, when I mean weightlifting, I don't mean like just lifting weights. Lifting weights is one thing. Weightlifting is a sport. This is where they do that shit with the bar on the floor and just like with the bar overhead, right? And then the bar goes over this way and the bar goes here. So it's an Olympic sport. Look it up. It's called weightlifting. So I wanted to be better. I was having trouble with the coordination. So I was like, you know what is the next best thing? Like what is going to make my body, like me, I need body awareness. That's what I needed. I was like, whenever I don't have very good body awareness, and body awareness is like knowing, like if you want to move your body a certain way in your brain, it just happens, right? it's not easy. It's not an easy skill to have, right? Like if I want to sit, like I want to put a tripod on my head or something like that. It's not the easiest skill to have. So I was like, what's the next best thing? Like that's going to help me. Like who has great body awareness? And I was like, gymnast. So I looked for gymnasts. Nobody wants to teach my old ass how to do gymnastics. They were like, oh, yeah. It's, man, this is for me. They learn gymnastics.
They didn't want to take your money?
That's what I said. I was like, that work for a living. These are parasites. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. So yeah, they were always like, no, we only do like toddlers and fucking kids under like 12 or something like that. So the next best thing after that, someone said, why don't you try dancing? And I was like, okay. So I looked up dancing, and what ended up coming a lot was like social dancing, right? Like you go into a social, which is you go into a big room, right? And they're playing music, and you're just like, so that's social dancing, right? So I started like just frequenting those places, and then they sometimes have lessons there, and I got pretty good at like doing both, right? I would like, so I started going in for salsa and bachata because I'm Hispanic or Latino music. I like that shit. So I started just doing that stuff, and I was like, oh, it's fun, right? I like got to meet new people, and I was like following, and then like most things in life, men really ruin it. So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna dance with men anymore. Or what I said was like, they weren't as good as I thought they were. Like I wanted them to be, right? Like the men that you pick. So I was like, I'm just gonna learn. Like if these fuckers can do it, I can do it. So I learned how to lead, and I think in 2019 that was like a big deal. It's not anymore. Like so many female leads now. It's great. But yeah, I was like kind of like one of the only girls that was like in there like leading, and then I could dance whenever I wanted. So I learned how to do that, and then I found Kat, and Kat Arias, she's the director of the Frosty Dance Company. She leads like professionally, and I was like, I gotta check her out. And so I went to some of her stuff, but she is not a social dancing company. So like I said, social dancing, you're in a room, it's fun, it's like a big party, right? You just go, you ask, can I dance with you? All right.
Consent.
She's a performing company. So you have to audition to get into one of her teams. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So I was like, auditions for what? And so I auditioned one year for her like ladies team, and I made it. And that team that year, like just the girls on that team, they're like, it was amazing. Like I have never, it was so great. Like I'm saying, like have hobbies, like like do stuff with people. Like it's really great for like just the social aspect of it. So yeah, I had that's where I started. I started there, and it was just a footwork team. And so if you don't know what footwork teams are, you're just like choreography with like you're by yourself, right? Like or with a team, but you're not with a partner. The year after, I auditioned to be on a partner team again as a lead, because there's no fucking way that I'm gonna let them throw me around. I don't trust men enough like that. That's like my own, like that's my own thing. But I just like I'm like I know you are like mediocre. Like no, like you're gonna drop me, or I just don't. I'm like no. So I was just like, I'll do the traditional male part, so the lead part, and I did that for a couple of seasons, and then I'm back on the ladies team. But yeah, that's and part of it is again, it stemmed from like trying to learn how to move better, and it just became its own rabbit hole and its own hobby or whatever. So try social dancing. I like it. I like it.
And it was funny. The whole I know. I was like, the whole time you were talking about that, I was like, man, like the hobby part sounds cool, but I lack coordination.
I like coordination too. I'm telling you, if I can do it, you'd be easy.
Yeah, like and I get really self-conscious.
Me too. That's why you have to go. I'll tell you where to go. So you have to go to the salsa room. It's called TSR. It's here in Tyson's. Nobody's gonna know who the fuck you are. Just show up and like take the class and then go home, and then do that for like weeks until you're like confident enough to let someone dance with you, and then that's it. And then it's over. And then you're like, this is fun. And then you're going to be like in the social. One of your sister-in-laws does it too. Someone else. I know I've seen them. Yeah. Social, it's like it's just a thing, right? And there's a lot of different styles that you can try. Like if you're not into the Latin scene, there's like West Coast swing and zouk and a bunch of other stuff. If like bachata and salsa, but the bachata scene's like a big deal here. Like it's huge. Yeah, so that's my little plug for social dancing, right? Go and do that. And if you're interested in doing more, right, like choreography, then you'd have to go to like a performing company. But yeah, it's been a ride. I learned a lot. I'm still very terrible at it, but I have a good teacher, so hopefully that's like my new thing, right? Like my new thing that I really have to like practice and go and do things, and it doesn't come naturally to me, but it's like it is what it is, right? Like we all have to like eat humble pie sometimes.
Yeah. Yep. I do need a hobby. Will it be social dancing?
I think you should think about. I think you should think about it. There's nothing to lose. Look, ladies free before 11 on Fridays. Maybe I'll do something for my birthday and I'll put you out there. We'll get a table, some bottle.
I need something to drink.
Easy.
Some alcohol.
Easy. Yeah. All sorts of people. And you can learn to lead too if you want. If it's easier for you. You want to take the lead? You know?
I don't know.
Ask a lady out. Like, you want to dance? Dance with you. It's not weird. Yeah. It's not weird because everybody's there.
Everyone's there
for dancing. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, that's a place to try it out. It's a place to throw some pickup lines in. Don't be weird.
I don't know if I'm that confident, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But one more segue to music.
Okay.
Speaking about music. Like I said, I do creep. I think I noticed I don't know if you do Spotify or Apple Music. I can't remember.
Spotify. Yeah.
Yeah. Was Becky G on your? Or is that
she was a big contender? Yeah. Yes. Are you a Becky G fan too?
I am a Becky G fan. Yeah. Did you go to the concert?
No.
Me neither. I
was right here.
I know. It's like a stone
10 minutes
throw
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had to travel, honestly.
Yeah.
Something happened. Yeah.
I wanted to go, but
next one.
Then it sold out like really quick, and there was only like resale tickets. And then
station with concerts these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think I didn't realize how busy my semester was gonna be.
Real life,
that shit really snuck up on me. It still is like spring semester. I'm like, wow. Like I was like, I thought I'd be taking a knee. Not so much. Not so much.
School is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm telling you. You're like, I'm so much smarter now as an adult. Still hard.
Yeah, I was like, it was funny. One of my interviews for one of my graduate assistantships, they were like, yeah, how do you think you'll like handle balancing everything? And I just like had this idea that it really wasn't going to be that hard, and that like doing the assistantship in school. But I think I also didn't realize how much time the podcast would take, and like coordinating everything. And then also like me trying to go home and visit my family. That's like a 3-hour drive. And then like just trying to be social and trying to date. Like, it's a lot. Yeah.
I feel you need to...
I need to prioritize.
No, two birds, one stone. Socialize and date at the same time.
Yeah.
But I will say this. If you do date, where, like, just don't do it somewhere that, like, you like a lot. Like, that was my thing when I was at the gym, when I was still, like, single. If I was dating someone there, or if I had the inkling of something might happen, I was like, if we are not a thing, you're leaving. Like, you cannot frequent this space anymore. So just like have a prenup or something before you start dating in your space.
Yeah, I've made some mistakes in the past, so I guess I should probably learn from that.
Yeah, I'm just like, you're gone.
Yeah.
So we get married or you're gone. Like, I don't want to see you in this space anymore. Like, those are your two options.
But yeah, dating. Yeah, I'm not into the dating apps. And so, yes, when you're talking hobbies, I'm like, I need to get a hobby. I need to meet people face to face. I can't do this dating app.
I think you should do Zook. I feel like you'd be into that situation. As soon as you got rid of the nerves, you'd fall great into that.
maybe this summer. This summer I'll have like more stability as far as like I'll be here a lot more on like the weekends and stuff.
Know a lot of dance teachers.
So maybe, you know, I'll reach out.
There's also a place called Born to Dance in Vienna, which is also a stone's throw. You know what? There's like 4 dance studios. Like there's one in Crown and Fairfax, and Ferocity here is like 15 minutes away from us. And yeah, girl, this is a dancer's paradise. Falls Church.
Yeah, maybe I'll like come into a new sort of confidence.
I'm telling you, you don't need confidence. Just do that shit. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. But I am a Becky G fan.
Good.
Do you have a favorite like song by Becky G or?
She has this song called with Guayna. What is it? Taki. Taki? It is called Taki. Yeah. That one is good.
Nice.
Yeah. Guayna. It's got like a cumbia beat to it. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never forget she's Mexican. She's great.
Yeah.
She's like one of the few ones that does like urban music as a Mexican woman.
I like her latest album too. I thought that was really good, Esquina.
Oh, Esquina. Yeah, so it's on that.
Yeah. Is it on?
Yeah.
Man.
It's on there, yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes I just don't even really know the names of the songs.
Have a wide berth of music that you listen to. You got like Becky G, you're like a Taylor Swift stan. Yeah. Which, by the way, I can't relate. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Don't understand. I've tried to get it out of Alessandra also.
Which one? On here?
Oh, this is Esquinas, not Esquemas.
Yeah.
It's in
Esquemas?
Yeah. Oh, Taquín.
Oh, yeah. What? I like that one too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. She's got a lot of good songs on that one too. Mommy is my favorite from that one. But yeah, I really like the new album because I like sad girl music, to be honest. And that album is sad. It's sad. Mostly sad. Yeah. There are some fun songs, like Los Astros. I like that one. But, you know, most of it's sad. And that's my vibe. That's probably why I like Taylor Swift so much. Yeah. But
you should listen to Natalia Lafourcade if you like sad girl music. Another Mexican artist. But yeah.
Send it my way. I'll listen to it. Yeah. I do have a very wide berth of music.
Very eclectic.
Yeah. I mean, it probably helps that I dated a Puerto Rican girl.
Oh.
For a little bit.
How long?
Not that long. We were,
enough to copy her Spotify playlist. You know.
Enough to like get interested and be like, oh, these are fun. And then just like keep listening to like music on my own, you know? Yeah. Yeah. It was one of those tumultuous, like stereotypical lesbian relationships. My first like very like back and forth stereotypical like break up, get back together.
Oh girl, no.
Yeah. I was like,
I will say this. I am not.
I never thought it would happen.
I defy all my stereotypes, all those lesbian stereotypes. Like I don't like people in my home, right? So like, but I don't know if you guys know, I'm married. So I got married last year, but when we were dating, right? We were dating through COVID. And so, whenever here's the story. So she was very open with where she lived and what she did and who she was and all that stuff. And I was very fucking tight-lipped because I was like, first of all, I don't know you. No, you come from. I don't know who you are really. I'm just trying to get like, I just want to make sure you're not insane, right? So the first few dates, and then I found out, so I was living in Crystal City, or like right outside of Crystal City. And she actually across the street. I'd be like, I'm going to pick you up. And I would have to pretend to be driving for like 15 minutes.
It's hilarious.
Because I would not tell her for like a long time, for maybe like 3 months or 4 months. And then finally, when I did bring her over, she was like, are you fucking kidding me? And I was like, listen, I had to vet you first. I had to make sure you're not crazy. Yeah. Yeah, no U-Haul movements, like no big, rapid. I guess we did get married quickly, but like we're adults. Like at a certain point where you're like, all right, this is kind of it. Like it is. Yeah. But yeah, no big U-Haul movements. Like none of that's back and forth stuff either. Like, Yeah, it's very. I was like, listen, I have a low tolerance.
I did that once, and I won't do it again.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Dating pool, I heard, is not great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Obviously, this podcast is like based on like going to a women's college. But sometimes like in it, like we stumble and we chat about relationships, and I was like, I just like to think of like fun other podcasts in like a different world, and I was like, oh, a relationship podcast called The Struggle Bus, because it's a struggle.
I'll say, yeah. I mean, I had my moments too, right? I met people dancing also as well, and that didn't really work out. But those were short lived, right? And then glad like we had COVID, so I kind of like put a stop to like any dumb shit I was gonna do anyway. So I was like, all right, well, that's great. And then stuff before that, like, well, have to have the shitty ones before we get like good ones, I think. Yeah. So don't fret. It might work out.
I don't promise anything. No. Yeah, that's why I'm in therapy, so I can navigate these waters, stay positive.
I feel you. Therapy is a great resource and a great what is the word I'm looking for here? Investment.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is right now, at least, like George Mason has like counseling services that are free for students. Like, honestly, I'm just now getting into therapy because I've been putting it off, just because I've been busy.
Yep.
I do have TRICARE, but when I was looking up like providers and stuff on the website, I was like,
nobody takes TRICARE.
I was like, these are shitty options.
And also, nobody takes insurance in general.
Like what? I thought like I'd have like a decent amount of options in this area. I was like, it's a big area. There's probably a lot of providers. But I honestly feel like I had more options in Colorado.
Yeah. Colorado makes sense to me. I think there's you know what? No, we have like a big military population here as well. And the government workers also.
Yeah. I'm like, no wonder service members and veterans are fucking struggling. Because like the options I found on there, I was like, I don't want to go to Maryland. I don't want to go into DC. Like, I'm not driving into DC for fucking therapy. So that being said, I'm using George Mason. I'm at least going to like get started with them because it's free and it's just been easy to set up, and the whole staff is like really nice, and they have the ability to connect you with like community providers. So like you can do like sessions with them, and then they'll kind of touch base with you, be like, hey, like, we like have recommendations, like we can connect you with someone in the community, or you can even just keep working with them. They don't necessarily like cut students off, which I think is really
nice.
Yeah, you might not be able to get like an appointment every week, but I don't think I would need an appointment every week anyway.
A lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, like, starting off...
I don't even go to my chiropractor.
Yeah, I know when I started therapy in Colorado, it was, like, every week, and I was like, I need this every week.
Yeah.
But,
like, I mean, from what I understand, they're, like, supposed to give you the tools that you're supposed to implement into, like, whatever it is that you're trying to, I guess, nurture with therapy. So,
yeah.
That makes sense that you'd have to eventually wean yourself off of your therapist.
Definitely. Well, we are just over an hour. This is a ballpark where, I usually get to. I try to stay an hour or under, but it's tricky. So I do have a couple more questions.
Yeah.
So one question is like, if you could go back in time and give your college self some advice.
Beat that bitch up.
No,
I'm kidding. I like really want to. Anyway, you made my life so hard. I had to work so hard to get out of my hole. Anyway, what would I say? See, I've never been visited by like my future self. So I guess if I were in that situation because of the rules of time travel, I would say nothing. Can't say anything. Not allowed to say anything. But I would send out subtle signals like, go to class, stop feeling sorry for yourself. It's fine. You'll be okay.
Are you like a fan of like Marvel and like the whole like
I feel
quantum thing?
I used to be.
Because it seems like you're very committed to the rules of like time travel based on your answer.
I was gonna say Marvel. I was at a certain point, and then they made too much fucking stuff, and I just can't keep up. So
it's a lot of content.
Yeah, it's a lot of things.
Okay, and then my last question is: do you have any like shout outs or plugs you want to give? I know you kind of gave some as we were going.
Oh,
but if you want to, if there's any other ones you thought
plugs. I don't know. Do you have a? I'm sure like any of the alumni that live in the DMV area. Yeah. Do you want to social dance? Go to TSR. Go take lessons with Frosty City Dance Company so you can be good on the dance floor, and then go to TSR. So you're not an idiot on the dance floor. And also just like find hobbies that are fun. And if you want to do cool shit, I like in the gym, like you want to learn how to do cool things, I would suggest finding a coach. I work in Crystal City. I don't work for myself right now. I work for a gym called Brazen Fitness. If you want personal training, I'm capped. Like I'm kind of done, but I can always make an exception for someone that I know maybe. But if you're interested in the gym and if you live in the area, I would recommend that. Or it's not just whatever you like, Google CrossFit Gym and see if they'll take you on and if you're willing to pay those prices. It's not cheap, but it's, I think, the medium between, I know we talked about like the price, especially here in Northern Virginia. But it is the medium between like on one end we have like Planet Fitness's One Life Gold Gym, which are like $10 to like what, $50 a month, to personal training, which could be like $100 an hour. So I think that's like the middle where you get, it's not quite personal training, but someone is like, listen, you can't do that shit right there. That's wrong. Yeah. So yeah, those are my plugs. And also, I don't know if my sister-in-laws watch this. I know you guys watched Alessandra's last one. Yeah. Yeah, I know they did because they posted it on the sister-in-law page. So shout out to class of 2014. Like, you've been collecting us like Beanie Babies. All right. And let's see. We talked about icing the track. Okay, that's like the secret that's not a secret, right? The other secrets, they stay secret. That's like a warning to the rest of the sister-in-law class.
I almost asked you to share another story that we haven't heard about, but clearly, like, we can't do that.
There's I feel like it's always some shit about confinement. Like, we were always like confined, and then like we snuck out and did some bullshit. Like, one time,
which we all do.
Yeah, I don't know, but what was it? And always wearing our shit too. Like, why the fuck are we always wearing our shit? Like, they're not gonna recognize us from a mile away.
Let's wear our dark green PT.
Yeah.
That's it. We will.
Yeah. Just uniform pieces down the road. Like, yeah. No, I think the icing the track one is the one that everyone loves because it's like, it was like a well-known thing. They're like, we know who did this, and it was a secret. Everything else is like, are we allowed to say still?
Yeah. Yeah, there were some things when I was like gonna interview Tesla. I was like, "Can we tell this?" And then she was like, "No." And I was like, "Okay." She was like, "Yeah, I don't know what the statute of limitations is on Skype." I was like, "Okay,
yeah,
we won't say it."
I will say though, like, I had a lot of interesting shit happen to me. One time, Bullard. Okay. This because it vividly sticks out in my mind. And I like die about it all the time. So one time, like during cadre week, I was on the bottom floor because like the whole fourth floor of Woodson was like filled. And so like me and the person I was rooming with, we were on the third floor. So we didn't know that cadre was on the fucking floor when they were waking us up until they were there.
Yeah.
And until they were there. And I was like, they were like, get here, PT, get your stuff. And I was like, I didn't know what my bra was. My bras and my titties are just like everywhere. I was trying to push it, and I was like, she can see them. I was like, she can see it happening right now. And so I would die about this all the time, and I always think about, like, in my sleep, I was like, I wonder if Bullard saw my tits while I was trying to do those push-ups that she made me do because I couldn't get my bra on quickly enough. But yeah, that was about it. Yeah. Cadet Corps, y'all.
Yeah.
unique experience.
So funny. Yeah, you can't make that shit up.
No. But
it's a one-of-a-kind experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I used to think, like, it would have been a great reality TV show. Like, some producers missed out on a great opportunity, to be honest, especially during, like, I don't know what it was like before us, but, like, I feel like there was just so much.
Yeah, when we were in school.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a lot. And there was beef in between like, I'm telling you, it would have been like a reality show. Like, there was some shit that happened. People would get mad at each other. And then, like, our sister in class, like I said, we were like ride or die, right? So, like, we don't even know why people were mad. We're just like, we're mad at them because they're mad at us. And so we're like, okay. It's like hive mentality. And we just like kept it. And then I'm always in hindsight, we're like, we should have asked questions. So, like, you know.
Yeah. I think that was just kind of the way that they designed the core, though. They really forced you. Well, I have a lot of thoughts about the fraternization policy, but the way it was written, it like forced you to only be friends with like your null class.
Exactly.
And like if you tried, like if you were friends or were friendly with people outside of your null class, then there was like perception. It was like you're dating.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't be friends with anyone. Yeah. So like when I think of like when I do these interviews, I've learned so much about people from other classes because I was like, damn, I really didn't know that much about them because we were like supposed to just hang out with our sister Knowles. Yeah. Like that was it.
There's gotta be like it's hard because like especially when you leave the null class and you go and you become cadre like your sophomore year, right? You're like the corporal class. It's hard because that previous class was literally just shitting on you.
Yeah.
And so I was like, there's gotta be some better integration there.
Yeah.
I don't know how the core is run now, but like every year, like I know the year that you guys were like our cadre class, you guys were like, tough and easy. And then we said the same shit about the next class. Yeah. Like we said the exact same shit about. So I was like, is it really that watered down like every year? So I don't know. Maybe they're just like certain circumstances, but I know for a fact like there was some things that like again Harrison was like push-ups in the hallway during. What was that called? Academic time or study time? When you guys were on the
yeah, like the study hours or something?
Yeah, something like that. And I did something, I said something, I don't know. She was like, push us, blah, blah, blah. Oh, who the fuck told somebody? But she got in trouble for that. Yeah. And then I was like, listen, I didn't say shit. But like, they told her she couldn't do that anymore. And I was like,
hazing.
Yeah, I was like, I don't fucking know. Like, it is what it is. I had to do push-ups with my tits out like earlier in the year. So, like, this was fine.
Yeah. At least you had a bra on.
This was fine. So, yeah, I don't know. And then my corporal year, when I was doing stuff, like one of the Knowles cried and I felt really bad. I was like, no, that's serious. No, it's not about that. So I just don't know. And I was just like, I don't know. So I don't think it gets watered down every year, but maybe it might.
I'm genuinely curious how it works now. I mean, when I think about how long it's been since I graduated, it's kind of painful.
10 years.
But yeah, that's a lot of time for things to change. And like General Jerk has been there for quite a while now. Yeah. So there's been time for her kind of style of leadership and she's had time to make adjustments. So I'm curious what that's like. And maybe I'll find out when I go to the reunion.
Have you spoken to her since you were?
Not really. I haven't been back to like Mary Baldwin like properly like for VWIL or graduation stuff since 2015. I've like been intermittently to chat with like Colonel Patrick and stuff like that, but I haven't sat down with like General Jurek or anyone in the VWIL office and kind of had like a conversation. But I plan to. That's something I want to do.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, definitely. And I think she's from what she's expressed to me, she's open to seeing everyone and taking everyone's input into consideration. The last time I was there was like 2019, I think, and we did a PT session with the Corps, and it's like really weird being back, dude. They're like, you're like, okay, and they're like, yeah, can I have? And I'm like, I was like, bro, chill.
Yeah, I know. That's
like they're very good at it. I will say, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. That's what I like. If I was
very well trained,
chilled out.
Yeah,
I'm a civilian.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, chill. Like we're like, I would ask a question. They were like, yes or no or yes, and I'm like, I was like, this is very stressful for me.
Relax. I'm not just any alum. I'm a cool alum.
Great, basically.
Yeah.
True. I was like, I didn't even do this shit when I was like, no, just kidding. I took it very seriously. Drilling ceremony.
Yeah. Took it. I definitely took it way too seriously in college.
I mean, too. I was in band. I was like, this is the fuck. Keep the core in step.
Yeah. Even I was thinking about the reunion and how like the alum actually march, and I was like, shit, I'm gonna have to do that. I was like, can I just be in the Audi?
Yeah, we
like with my
so much shit. Sorry. We were like in the corner, we're like, what the fuck is going on over there? I was like, listen, y'all do this shit every other day for like your whole lives. Like we haven't stepped foot on a field, and
I know.
I'm sure I can keep it together.
Yeah, I can probably do it, but I don't want to be a squad leader.
Yeah.
But okay. Well, like we said, people have goldfish brains for attention. So maybe some people will listen to an hour and 20 minutes. Maybe they won't, but I had a fun time.
Me too. Thanks.
So whether people, listen all the way to an hour 20, that's on y'all. I had a great time. So I really appreciate you being here. This was fun.
Thanks for the invite.
All right. Appreciate it.
Go social dancing.
Thanks for listening to the All Girls School podcast. But before class is over, please take a moment to subscribe or leave a review on Apple or Spotify podcast. If you enjoy video content, head over to our YouTube channel at All Girls School Podcast, where you can watch and listen to each episode. You can also follow us on Instagram at All Girls School Podcast, and you can email us questions, stories, and more at theallgirlsschoolpodcast@gmail.com. That's it for today. Class is dismissed.